Ever wonder how mobsters blew their billions? These notorious figures of the underworld didn't just make money, they made a statement with every dollar they spent. We're talking stacks of cash, earned through violence and intimidation. Their wealth was built on the backs of illegal enterprises, from bootlegging to gambling and even more sinister activities. These guys didn't do 401ks. Retirement plans, forget about it. They lived for the moment, always aware that their time could be cut short at any second. They lived fast, died young, and left a trail of extravagance in their wake. Their funerals were grand affairs with long processions of luxury cars, a final display of their ill-gotten wealth. Think luxury cars, mansions and parties that would make Gatsby blush. They threw lavish parties where the champagne flowed like water and the music never stopped. Let's dive into the world of mobster spending, where money couldn't buy happiness, but it sure bought a hell of a good time. Nightclubs, casinos and speakeasies were their playgrounds, and they spared no expense. These guys were living a fantasy, a world where they were kings, surrounded by opulence and luxury, always dressed to the nines in the finest suits and fedoras. A dark, twisted fantasy, but a fantasy nonetheless. Behind the glitz and glamour, there was a shadowy world of crime and danger, where betrayal was just around the corner. They had everything money could buy, and they weren't afraid to show it off. From diamond-studded watches to fur coats, their wealth was on full display, a testament to their power and influence. But behind the diamonds and the champagne, there was a dark reality. A life filled with constant danger, where trust was a rare commodity and enemies were everywhere. A reality of violence, corruption, and ultimately downfall. Many met their end in a hail of bullets or behind bars, their empires crumbling as quickly as they were built. The flashy lives they led were just a facade, hiding the grim truth of their existence. Forget your average McMansion, we're talking sprawling estates, hidden rooms, and enough security to rival a small country. Al Capone's Florida estate, a fortress with a massive vault and a private island. These guys spared no expense when it came to their homes. Why the need for fortresses? Well, when you're swimming in dirty money, you've got enemies, lots of them. These homes weren't just about luxury, they were about survival. Secret passages, hidden rooms, panic rooms, you name it, they had it. It was a constant game of cat and mouse with the feds, and their homes were their castles. Forget a Toyota Corolla, mob bosses rolled in style. We're talking classic Cadillacs, sleek Duesenbergs, the kind of cars that screamed power and money. These weren't just cars, they were status symbols. Custom modifications, of course. Hidden compartments for cash, weapons, maybe even a dead body or two. These guys were nothing if not prepared. They cruised the streets like they owned them because, in their minds, they did. Mobster parties were legendary. Booze flowed like water, music blared, and everyone who was anyone in the underworld was there. Think Hollywood glamour meets Las Vegas grit. It was a chance to rub shoulders with other criminals, make deals, and flaunt their wealth. These parties were a spectacle. They were a way for these guys to pretend, for one night, that their money was clean and their consciences were clear. But the reality was always lurking just beneath the surface. Al Capone, the name alone conjures images of pinstripe suits, Tommy guns, and of course that infamous scar. But Capone, like many mobsters, had a taste for the finer things in life. He loved tailored suits, expensive cigars, and his custom-built Cadillac was the stuff of legend. Capone's spending was legendary. He dropped thousands on a single meal, owned multiple homes, and even had a personal barber on retainer. He was the epitome of mobster excess, living large and loud, a stark contrast to the poverty of the times. Frank Lucas, the ruthless heroin kingpin portrayed in American Gangster, rose from poverty to amass a fortune. He lived a double life. 1 minute blending into the streets of Harlem, the next rubbing shoulders with celebrities at high-stakes boxing matches. Lucas's spending was as bold as his drug empire. He owned multiple homes, a fleet of luxury cars, and even bought his mother a $100,000 house out in cash. But his extravagance ultimately contributed to his downfall, attracting unwanted attention from law enforcement. Section 7. Gambling, girls and greed, the vices that fueled spending. What drove these guys to spend so lavishly? Was it just the allure of wealth, or was there something more sinister at play? Sure, there was an element of keeping up appearances, of showing off their power. They wanted to be seen as the kings of their domains, untouchable and invincible, but it went deeper than that. It was about more than just the surface-level glitz and glamour. Gambling, women, booze. These vices were all part of the mobster lifestyle. They were the fuel that kept the fire of their extravagant lives burning. They craved the thrill of the win, the rush of adrenaline that came with risky bets and even riskier affairs. The high stakes of their lives mirrored the high stakes of their games. It was a vicious cycle. The more they spent, the more they needed to earn, and the more they earned, the more they craved the thrill of spending it all. Their lives were a constant chase for the next big win, the next big score. The opulence was intoxicating. The more they indulged, the more they wanted. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the power and the control that came with it. They were addicted to the lifestyle, to the constant rush of excitement. The money was a means to an end, a way to keep the adrenaline pumping. And it wasn't just about personal pleasure. The lavish spending was also a way to assert dominance, to show the world who was in charge. It was a display of power, a way to intimidate rivals and impress allies. The more they spent, the more they solidified their status. It was a never-ending cycle of earning, spending, and earning again. The vices that fueled their spending were the same vices that kept them at the top of their game. In the end, it was a lifestyle built on excess, on the constant pursuit of more. More money, more power, more thrills. The vices that fueled their spending were the same vices that defined their lives. Section 8. The price of excess, downfall, and the long arm of the law. Here's the thing about living outside the law, it's only a matter of time before the law catches up. For all their wealth and power, these mobsters often met their downfall through their own extravagance. Their lavish spending attracted attention, made them targets. The IRS, the FBI, they were always watching, and when they finally moved in, it was game over. Mansions seized, cars impounded, fortunes built on blood money crumbling like a house of cards. Section 9. Ill-gotten gains, lasting impacts. The legacy of mob spending. The legacy of mobster spending is a complex one. On one hand, it's a cautionary tale of greed, excess, and the fleeting nature of ill-gotten gains. On the other hand, it's hard to deny the allure, the fantasy of a life lived on your own terms. Consequences be damned. Their spending fueled certain industries, created jobs. Even if those jobs were often built on illegal activities, their influence can still be seen today in the architecture of their former homes, the legends surrounding their names. Section 10. Conclusion: the allure and the aftermath. The world of mobsters and their spending is a rabbit hole, man. It's a world where the line between right and wrong blurs, and the allure of power and wealth can be intoxicating. These mobsters lived lives that many could only dream of, filled with luxury cars, opulent mansions, and extravagant jewelry. But beneath the surface, there was always a darker side. It's fascinating and repulsive, alluring and terrifying, all at the same time. The mobsters' world was one of contrasts, the glitz and glamour juxtaposed with the ever-present threat of violence and betrayal. They navigated ominous city streets at night, conducted business on luxury yachts, and left a trail of crime scenes in their wake. The duality of their existence is what makes their stories so compelling. It's a reminder that money can't buy happiness, but it can buy a hell of a lot of trouble. The extravagant parties and lavish lifestyles often ended in courtroom scenes and prison cells. The luxury cars they once flaunted were seized by the police, and the opulent mansions became empty shells. The pursuit of wealth and power came at a steep price, and many paid with their freedom or their lives. It's a story that continues to fascinate us even decades later. The headlines from old newspapers, the grainy black and white footage, and the historical accounts of their exploits keep the legend alive. We are drawn to these stories not just for the drama and intrigue, but for the lessons they impart about human nature and the consequences of unchecked ambition. The names, the faces, the stories. They're a part of American history, a dark and twisted chapter that we can't seem to look away from. Figures like Al Capone have become almost mythic, their lives dissected and analyzed in countless books, movies, and documentaries. These mobsters were not just criminals, they were cultural icons, symbols of a time when the American dream could be pursued through any means necessary, a dark and twisted chapter that we can't seem to look away from. The allure of the mobster lifestyle, with its promise of power and wealth, continues to captivate our imagination. The dark alleys, the crime scene photos, and the police raids are all part of a narrative that is both cautionary and captivating. It's a world that we are both repelled by and drawn to, a testament to the complexity of human nature. And at the end of the day, isn't that what keeps us coming back for more? The fascination with mobsters and their world is a reflection of our own desires and fears. We watch true crime documentaries, read books about their lives, and attend movie screenings, all in an attempt to understand the allure and the aftermath. It's a story that never gets old, a reminder of the thin line between ambition and destruction.